said about Big Bear, be smart. You see, online, we've been on the website and everything, and on social media, we've been talking about a lot of activities we've been working on. And I said I was going to try to do a few more videos this year, but I don't want to do your general kind of here's how you do this kind of video. You'll see 1,000, how to install a package videos. I don't want to talk to you about generally installing a package. I want to talk to you about my way and why I do installing packages, what I do, why I do, because there's reasons I do it. It's not to say you have to do it the same way or you even have to agree, but a lot of people have asked me as I've helped them around my area here, around the Omaha area, and this is kind of a good way to get that out in general. So we're going to install a couple of packages today for a buddy of mine who had to go out of town. And he's one of our Beehooligans, and we're giving him a hand out. So big shout out, Chris. We're helping you out, bud. We're going to get you set up right. Okay, so basically, we're starting with 2 packages. And you'll see him come around the corner here in a bit, but we got Antnee Gaines, Antnee G from the old podcast. He decided to come and hang out today. So he's getting his stuff ready to go and come around here, so he'll be by in a minute. Look, there he is.
I be here.
He's here. So we're going to start on a package. Now, basically what I always have a smoker going. Even if you're not going to use it, have a smoker ready. You see my hat? I got a new hat for my bee day. Honeybees, smoke them if you got them. I love that because it means so many things to my demented history. It's beautiful, man. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to take and install a package. Now what I want to do is I want to focus on, first I want to focus on having my hive tool. But I shake them in because as far as I'm concerned, between the whole argument of shake them in or put them in there nice and pretty, I guess to reduce stress as much as possible, and you have the time, space, and everything, and you want to put him in with as little stress as possible, yeah, put him in nice and gentle. Long run, I don't know anymore that it means that much, personally. I mean, my overall experience is the way that I'm doing this really kind of pretty much negates any other problems. Now, if it was later on in the day or a different weather or something like that, I might choose the less stressful, non-shaking method that you'll see online over the shake method but the shake method for what we're doing here is going to be just fine because we've got the whole day here. The idea really boils down to this. When you're putting in bees, you're installing bees, a lot of times people will put them in cooler weather. We're in the spring, and this spring, if you're in most of the places in this country, has been a crazy spring. And here in Nebraska, around the Omaha area, it's been as crazy as it gets. You've had crazy weather just on the other side of the river, just over there in Iowa where your bees are.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it's just everywhere that this weather has just been screwy, that we're getting cold, 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 warm day, cold, 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 warm week, cold, cold, cold. It's just crazy. A lot of people's bees that they've had overwintering have done fine until the last few weeks when this really goofy weather patterns have come through and caused a lot of problems. Well, the same weather patterns are still causing problems with installing bees now, installing packages, because the bees, when you install them, our spring nights they're cooler earlier in the day, and they're cooling off more rapidly. So you can have a 65-degree day up until about 5 or 6 at night and think, oh, I'll go home at 65 degrees, I'll go home, I'll install my bees, or whatever, my package. But then an hour later, literally just an hour and a half later, it drops 15 degrees, and now it's, 40 degrees, and the bees are barely had time to form a cohesive cluster to stay warm. And this weather is you're setting bees up to fail when you don't allow them to get that cluster established, well. You need a good solid cluster where they're not all disorganized. That's what I really look for. I want a good cluster. I want to send them starting off the right way.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier, and that's kind of what I was telling you. You know, I was trying to explain with the one that I had helped another guy with recently, is because he had even colder weather, and they didn't get a chance to get it, and they started really weak because a lot of them died earlier on because they didn't get that firm cluster. A bunch got left out. They died because they were separated, and his colony started, but it started very weakly, as opposed to two other ones that got started a few days later when we had 3 days in a row or so of warmer 50 to 60 degree weather, and they got installed earlier in the day. So that just made the world of difference to give them that time to really get themselves established, get a good cluster established inside the hive. That's what I really want to do, and that's the point that I want to stress with this video. Get your bees started the right way. Don't work against them, work with them. So, you know, yesterday it was like, when I picked them up, it was like 70 some odd degrees. And by the time it was about 3 hours later, it had dropped literally down to 55 degrees, you know. I'd rather take the extra day and bring them out here this morning. Now they've got all day for 65 plus degree weather to, even if it's supposed to rain a little bit later, you know, and all that, but it's still supposed to stay above 60 for the most part. That's still going to give them a chance to the whole day to establish, get their cluster. They can move back and forth and get their cluster together without being too cold that bees get stranded away and they don't get that cohesive cluster again. We're giving them a better start by doing it earlier in the day today and having the warm weather throughout the whole day.
Okay. Well, doing it that way then, how long can your bees stay in your package? Like, I picked up my bees and I put them in my garage, and because it was too cold that day and it was running late. So I know you spray them down.
Right.
With some simple sugar.
Yep.
You do that, but how many days can you do that if you have?
You know, theoretically, as long as you're staying warm enough and you're making sure to check them every day. You know, a lot of times by the time people get their packages, the cans are pretty much empty. So you got to spritz them pretty much daily, if not twice a day, depending on the temperatures. You know, if the warmer it is, the more you're going to have to spritz, because they're going to go through whatever you spritz on them pretty darn quick. You know, you got a 3-pound package. They're going to go through whatever's on those screens pretty fast. So, I mean, I try never to let it go more than 1, maybe 2 days tops, personally, because they need the food and they need to start building up. So, I personally try never to go more than maybe 2 days at the most. But if I can, I'll put them in overnight and put them in the next day. Weather prohibiting, you know, we've had those screwy days where, you know, you put them in and it's supposed to be nicer the next day and it does a weird snow thing or whatever.
Does in Nebraska.
Yeah, it's Nebraska, you know, so a couple of days, you know, tends to help out better. You go ahead and push it, but you got to just keep an eye on spritzing them with that sugar syrup to make sure they don't die of starvation, because them cans run out fast over the trip here.
Well, that brings me another question.
Sure.
Okay. Now you're going to put them in traditionally by shaking.
Shaking.
Okay. Now, if I do it the newer way, say I put my package in there and I make space for the package and the bees come out, how long can I leave the boxes in, the package itself in, before I have to move it? Because I had mine in I put mine in on Friday, so they were in 2 days. I went back in and half of the bees had, you know, moved themselves over to the frames where I put the queen, but there was still about half of the frame, half of them in there. So I was wondering, how long can I leave it?
A lot of the times I've seen people, they'll take like half the frames, they'll put the queen on this side.
Yeah.
And so then they put the package over here, and they'll either open one whole side of the screen up, or they'll just take the can out and leave the can open.
Right.
If I'm going to do that way, I'm going to take the whole side of the screen off. I'm just going to pry the whole thing off.
That makes
That
sense.
gives them more entrance, rather than, you know, they're going sideways and it's easier out for them rather than trying to funnel up and through the hole.
Yeah,
so that's the way I would do it.
Okay.
And usually I've had them out within a day or two.
Okay.
You know, so I know people who let them go as long as a week, and they're starting to make a mess in there. Because what they're doing, the ones that aren't leaving, they're still drinking sugar syrup and all that, and they'll start building wax inside the cages. I've seen that happen. So the longer you're in there, the longer, and they're being fed, the more they're going to take that as, well, this is part of the home now. And
gotcha.
so I try to get them out at least within a day or two again,
Okay.
just because of that.
Alrighty. Are we ready
So,
to do this?
like, what we're gonna do with this one is I got some sugar syrup here, and we're gonna do the pretty traditional way. I'm gonna spritz them. Now, the way to spritz these, the way I like to spritz them anyway, is we see that they're all kind of up towards the top. That's pretty common. We see that, okay? But we're not gonna put them in that way. Okay, we're gonna spritz these here like this, and I want to spritz them from underneath. I want to get them a little bit wet, a little not like soggy, but I want to come at them from the bottom. Okay, because what that does, coming at them from the bottom, is it helps get a better. You know, we want to prevent a lot of fly-ups, right?
Right.
Okay, well, if we're spraying just the top of them, if we knock them down and then spray them, all those bees on the bottom are dry. And they're going to fly up after you. But if we spray them on the bottom first, okay, like that, now those bees on the bottom are covered with the sugar syrup.
Right.
We can knock them down.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll take that. We got them spritzed there. And then we're going to knock them down. Oh, we lost our queen in there. That's okay.
Yep.
But now we're spritzing the top of the bees. Okay? So now they're wet and not as easy to fly all the way across, okay? Just like that. Now we can take, see now the metal here broke off. You can see, I don't know if you can see, the metal tab is still up here, so the metal tab was a malfunction there. My hand is too big. This can is still partially full.
Oh, I didn't bring.
Sometimes you might have to pry a little bit because these cans don't fit in the holes perfectly.
Right.
But what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and use, because I can't fit a lot of people, little people got little hands. They can get their hand to get that queen cake. But I don't have a little hand. In here is my queen cage. So I'm going to kind of try to bring this little puppy up. Can you manage to... Ah, you dirty little pupper. If I get it right there, can you reach it? Here it is. There you go. Easy in, easy out. Got it? Excellent. Good job. Antnee G for the save.
There you go. Okay.
Yes, dear.
Oh, got me.
Did she?
Yeah, she did.
Aww.
Oh, poor girl. Yep, there's her.
All right.
Okay.
And here's our queen all by herself in there. Got a cork. We didn't get any candy, though. You know what? She's been in here a good few days, so I'm believing we can do a direct release because she's been in this cage at least 3 days with it.
Right.
So we may do a direct release. But in the meantime, we are going to have to knock them down again.
Hold on. Let me grab the queen cage.
There, and that little bit of bees can stay right there. Will you not? Thank you. All right. Now, where'd that cage go?
Right over here.
All right.
You got
I'm going to wait. You know, what I want to do did them frames go? Here we go. Here, put these frames in
Okay.
on the sides in the bigger gaps. Okay? One on each side for now, because eventually we're going to slide them over.
Right. Okay, she's facing toward the cork now.
Yep. She's anxious.
Yeah, I was watching a video.
First mistake.
Yeah. But it told, yeah, what they said, they suggested when you're letting your queen out, wait till she's watching away because she moves quick.
Oh yeah. Or
Yeah, there you go, and you got your thumb right there.
got my thumb.
Yeah. I'm just noticing the fine technique.
So now she's still in there. My
There you
thumb's
go.
in the way. Okay. Now I want to let her in the middle of the other bees so she don't fly away. One of the big things that happens to a lot of people when they do a direct release is they'll release the queen at the very top and then she up and flies away. We don't want that. I want to put her in toward the bottom. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this up, see where all the bees are.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tip it. Come on, darling. And there she is. She's headed downward into the system. I watched her go.
There you go.
Now we're going to slide this one over, and this one over. Now we created a nice tight, we created that core for them already, that cluster core, because we dumped them right all in the middle. The queen went right down in the middle. I watched her. So now, we're going to take it. Oh, wait a minute. Ha! Food. I need a frame feeder.
Have we filled it yet?
No, but we can't. Here, you wanna hold this real quick?
Absolutely.
That's enough for a start. We'll slide it in right here in the end. Get there.
There we go.
Yeah, some of them, the plastic ones, get a little tricky. And of course, we're going to set it on and give it a nice, gentle. Come on. There you go. Bloop. And there's one package hive. Just like that. We did a live release of the queen. It's got the little entrance reducer already on, and it's on the smallest one. That's going to help them because she's going to be less likely, because all of a sudden them bees are clustered around there. She's going to be less likely to try to leave through that smaller hole where she can get by and get missed by the other bees. They're going to try to keep her there. Now we're going to do the same with this one. Hopefully we won't lose the queen.
Turning.
All right. Got our smoker in there. start this. This time, I'm gonna go ahead and mix this in first because I want to mix that one I already had it in the bottle. This one I didn't. We're gonna mix some Honeybee Healthy into it.
Okay. And
Gives them a little extra nutrients and some extra good stuff for the bees. Get them started off right. And this is a top feeder. I'm not big on top feeders, but they're handy to have.
okay.
We don't need a lot. Just need about a teaspoon.
Well, if you could come over here, they can see you better. I'm looking at your photo.
Hey, how you doing? Well, I'm sorry, I just kind of used to working from this angle. Anyway, we're going to mix this in here. Bees don't care about fingers, guys. All we're just trying to do is mix this up. Bees don't care if you stick your fingers in there. They'll lick honey off your fingers, so why not this, right? Little extra. Little extra for them there. All right. So we got that ready now, because that's going to go right on top. Okay? Now, thank you. Same thing here. We're going to spritz them underneath the bottom. And you notice on the other one, we didn't really have a whole lot of fly. We had a little bit. You're always going to have that because you got the bees in the middle that really don't get a lot of the moisture on them. But that's okay. All right. Where'd you got my high tool?
No, I do not.
My high tool! Where'd it go? I need my hive tool. Look at me, I'm already losing. See, this is why you buy like 20 or 30 hive tools, because they disappear. Here's my hive tool. Down here. All right. Now same thing, we're going to give them the big knockdown. And hopefully we didn't lose our queen in this one. Our queen cage, rather. Gonna pry the can out a little bit because it get a little tricky. And come on now. Get out.
Almost there.
There it goes. And again, before I take it fully out, give them the one more tap down. Here's our queen. There you go. And we're going to do the same kind of thing. Turn them over here. We're going to give them the big vamoose right into the middle of the opening here, in the middle of the frames. All right. Yes, I know you're so unhappy with me, aren't you? Okay.
You got the...
What?
Oh, nothing. Never mind.
Same thing. We're going to take the little cork out here. We're going to do it and be careful not to let the queen get out before we're ready for her to. Just like that. She's still in there. All right. And we're going to do the same way. I'm going to pull. This frame is the one that's got the most bees on it. And I want to get her again released at the bottom, because that's where most of the bees are.
Okay, there she goes.
Yeah, she's still kind of hanging in there. Oh, she almost found her way out.
There.
Out.
There
she goes. Keep her in and amongst the others. Keep her in. Now we've got, again, we've formed our good center cluster group with the frames.
Right.
Now we're going to surround them with other frames.
Oh, and this is a top feeder one,
Right. And keeping an eye out on top here for the queen, because
she could
she
crawl up.
still could try to get her way out. Even though we let her out at the bottom,
Right.
we don't want that. Try to maintain center space.
You got a lot of space over there. But you got that tight.
Well, we want to
yeah,
keep
you
it
wanna
about
keep
even,
tight.
yeah.
Yep.
Then what we're going to do is we're going to take this one. We're going to set this on top. All right. And same thing. Put the little cover on it. Put the lid. There you go, folks. That's the Big Bear way of hiving packages, and why we do it that way. We want to give them the opportunity to build that cluster up, get themselves reorganized after getting banged around a little bit. They've got the whole day to acclimate and get their bearings, I guess, if you will. By tonight, they'll have their cluster in the middle solidly established, because we kind of helped them start that way. We released the queen right in the middle. When we dumped the bees, we dumped them right in the middle, so they started climbing first on those center frames. We didn't squish any because we left gaps open in between, and then we scooted them together around the bees, pushing them all into the middle. Again, that gives them that opportunity to build that cluster and get a good start. So that's the Big Bear way, the Bee Smart way, beekeeping project of hiving packages.
Okay, so
Yeah,
these empty packages, you're just going
we're
to
going to
leave
leave them
them
here and
there.
let these bees find their way home.
Okay, and what about the feeder cans? Is it okay to leave them out, or is that
I'm
going
going to pick them up and throw them away, because
Okay.
I don't want them distracting the bees.
Gotcha.
I'm going to take them out of here.
Okay.
Got a little